There's no place like home.
This is so amazing.
What is it? The stuff that dreams are made of.
You know how to get me fired up.
I've got you.
You've got me. Who's got you?
Anybody else just get goosebumps?
Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for taking time out of your Sunday to join us for the last WB100 Career Ladder session. We have a fantastic panel, and we've definitely saved the best for last because our panel is full of people who have very, very recent experience of being a new entrant. And I imagine this is where most of you guys in the audience currently are. So hopefully it will all be relevant information for you. At Warner Brothers Discovery, we are really, really keen to make sure that as many people as possible know all about the incredible breadth of career opportunities there are in the screen sector. For example, one of our big feature films like A Fantastic Beasts or one of our DC productions, they might have between 1,500 and 2,000 individual crew members working on that production. So what we really want to do is to try and unpack that a bit for you, to explain who those different people are and what their roles are, and to demystify a bit of what it's like working on one of these really big studio productions. So it gives me great pleasure to introduce our panel. Guys, if you can turn your cameras on and we will go round. And if you can just say who you are, a couple of things that you've worked on, and what departments you've worked on, because I know a few of you have covered more than one. So let's start off with Sam.
Hello, I'm Sam. I'm 18 and I've just done my first job on Mickey 17 as a COVID marshal.
And Sam, can you just tell us who directed Mickey 17?
It is the new big Bong Joon-ho picture coming out next year.
Great, thank you. And then if we can go on to Ria.
I'm Ria. I've worked on Avenue 5, Queen Charlotte and Mickey 17 in production and the AD department.
Thank you. Then let's head to Harry.
Hi guys, I worked on a Netflix prequel to The Witcher as a production assistant, and then I moved to the lovely Warner Brothers and did a production assistant on Barbie, and then I moved to the camera department on Mickey 17.
Fantastic. Jarrell.
Hi everybody, I'm Jarrell. I've worked on House of the Dragons, the Apple TV show called Hijack, the Bob Marley biopic that will be released next year, and currently I'm on an Amazon feature.
Right.
I've worked in production and I've assisted producers and directors as well.
Incredible. And Marina?
Hi, I'm Marina. I'm 21 and I worked on Wonka to begin with in the sustainability department, then on The Diplomat, which is a Netflix TV show, in the production department, and I'm currently working on a Sony feature film in the production department as well.
Great. And finally, Nate.
Hi, I'm Nathaniel, 19, and I just finished working on Mickey 17 as a Grips trainee.
Great, thank you so much, guys. And so the way this session is going to run today, we are not going to talk too much about entry routes in. The whole idea of this session is that we have got 6 people together who have really, hopefully, recent memories of what their first day on one of these productions was like. And so it's to try and help manage expectations, I suppose, and help the audience really kind of understand some of those things that can be quite difficult to just read about in books, listen to on podcasts, but you can hear real firsthand experience of what this group really wish they'd known before they started, so you can try and prepare well. If you do want information about sort of new entrants and routes, we did a session that was recorded on Thursday, so hopefully that will go up on the BFI channel shortly, so do check that out. But for now, guys, I hope you've all managed to cast your mind back to day one. And I'm going to be mean. I'm going to go with Sam again, just because you had quite an interesting route through. So can you tell us a bit about your first day?
So my first day was on a location shoot in central London, and I was a daily. It was my first job in the industry ever, so I was quite panicky. I made sure, first of all, get there before call time. On time is late, as they like to say. And there were about 10 other dailies there, so I kind of knew if there's a time to impress people, it's now. So I worked as hard as I could, and then about a month and a half later, I got called in for a full-time gig on the film at Leavesden.
Great, thank you. And how was your experience at Leavesden different to your kind of first day as a daily? And can you explain what a daily is, first of all, for the audience?
So a daily is somebody who's brought on to production for a few days or so. So they're not a permanent member of the crew. They could be brought in for a few days or just one. It's just if they need a position being filled, they temporarily they go for a daily. I say my first day at Leavesden was a lot different because there's a lot of structure going on in Leavesden. Location shoots are kind of all over the place sometimes. So it was nice to get used to the foreground. I don't know, and just learn all the different responsibilities that comes with on set as opposed to on locations. Especially in COVID, you're shifting around all the time. So getting used to Leavesden was a big part of like the first few days.
Great, thank you. And I suppose Sam's being very modest, and I will say it for him. But I think what's interesting about his story is, as he said, a number of people were called up to be dailies as COVID marshals, which hopefully is a role that will get faded out soon. But it's been a really great opportunity for new entrants to get time on productions, and he did the job so well that they remembered him when they needed a kind of full-time position. And a lot of people might have thought, actually, I don't want to be a COVID marshal, that doesn't sound that exciting. But Sam, you had a first-hand view of Director Bong in action on set every day, is that right?
It was an absolute honor because especially as COVID, I noticed this going in, but you get to be on a fly on the wall quite a lot. And for somebody who's only recently come out of film education, being able to watch and observe, some of the best professionals in the country work on a feature film, just being able to watch it all, it was breathtaking, honestly. It was
great. And I would say what I remember vividly is that you were as enthusiastic on the last day as you were right at the beginning, which was really, really lovely to see.
Thank you.
Marina, can we go over to you? What was your first day like, and what production was it?
So I was on Wonka and I was in the sustainability department. I seem to remember it was about a year ago, or just over a year ago, but I seem to remember it just being so big. I didn't realize how big Leavesden was. I knew it was big, but like going in and like seeing actual, like, I don't know what I was expecting, but I saw actual road marks. There were like buggies flying about, there were vans, there were so many people, there were trailers everywhere. I just wasn't expecting that. And I remember kind of getting a tour and I was like, after this tour, I still have no idea where we even started. Like this hasn't helped. This has just made it even more confusing. But I do remember everyone just being really helpful and friendly. Like if you get lost, you don't know where anything is, everyone around was so nice and helpful. I then got to meet the production team. I got to meet some of the different departments, and it was incredible to kind of see everything behind the scenes. But I just remember it being absolutely massive and feeling so small, and just feeling like I was like back at my first day of school basically. But you get used to that sort of feeling.
Yeah, and I think I'd add for everyone, so Leavesden is the kind of Warner Brothers studio facility just north of Watford. And it doesn't just have one production going on at a time. There can be as many as 5 productions. And you've heard us talk about how many people might be working on one. So you imagine that across 5 and the amount of activity that's going on site. And that's why people are using buggies to get around, because it's a big place. And Marina, I'm over a year in and I still don't know my way around. So okay, can we move to Nathaniel? Can you talk us through your first day?
Yeah, I mean, for grips, I was called on a little bit earlier to go to somewhere called the Yard, which is where we saw all of our equipment. And that's sort of the first time you sort of get to see how much is used. I think it varies from department to department, but grips is really hands-on. So there's a lot of stuff we're using. So we're loading it all onto trucks and taking it out. So that was sort of the first few days I had. But the real first day at Leavesden, kind of like Sam and Marie, it was so big. I mean, you get there and the car park's massive, and then you get out of the car park and you see all these sort of different buildings with letters on them, and you know, they kind of just say in the call sheet to come to this studio. But I think once you sort of get there and you get to the studio, it feels quite close knit in a sort of way. I think the first time I got inside, everyone's sort of ready and working together, and you sort of see this sort of community straight away off the bat. And I think that's sort of what kind of makes it feel a little bit better, is that everyone's sort of eager to get to know each other and to get to work with each other. So I think as much as it does feel kind of daunting getting there the first day, once you sort of get onto set and you're working with everyone there, it starts to feel a little bit comfortable quite quickly. And that's something that I could express is nice, considering how big the place is and how scary it looks at the first day. Yeah.
Great, thank you. And just briefly, can you explain for everyone what is the grips department? What are they responsible for?
Yeah, so grips is sort of any shot the cameraman can't do, we'll take over with. It's sort of for safety as well. So let's say there's sort of a scene where there's explosions involved, or, you know, sort of a car crash scene, and we'll sort of use our equipment to get that shot without having someone out there. So you'll sort of get those scenes where we're using massive cranes that can go about 100 feet into the air, and shots as well where we had a shot where there was sort of a car rumbling and shaking, and we kind of built a rig for the camera to be inside that to get that shot. So it's really unique, and I think working with them, it's so hands-on. You're always building stuff and preparing stuff for those shots. And yeah, that's sort of what it entails.
Great, thank you. Ria, over to you. When was your first day?
My first day, I think it seems ages ago now. I'm looking back at it and I'm like seeing myself like from above. It's like I wasn't present at all. But yeah, it's like Leavesden is so overwhelming because you could walk down one stretch of road and you're going past several different worlds from several different productions. And I think, yeah, there was a tour beforehand, and it was quite overwhelming, I think. But once you're in with the crew, like to have that collaboration, it does feel like a sense of a community, which really helped.
And can you just talk a little bit about where are you based now? So in your current role, you know, what are you on set? Are you in offices? Whereabouts are you based? Just so people get an idea of, because there's different bits of Leavesden, right?
Yeah. So I'm currently in production, and it's very office based, but I think with being a PA, you do get to go to set and deliver stuff to different departments. But yeah, it's quite office based.
Right. And Jarell, can you talk a bit about your first day, but also I'm hoping you can give us the inside scoop on Leavesden as a facility and some of the stuff that's kind of there, because I know you did a little bit of time in facilities as well.
Yeah, so I started out in Leavesden as a studio operations assistant, so I knew my way around the studio from like my first day on House of Dragons, I actually knew it like the back of my hand. It was like a home to me. I think what is good to remember with Warner Brothers is it's a great place, but they have so much structures in place. So you can't just drive on, you can't bring your dog on, like without going through the proper channels. You have to have your passes, you have to have your car passes. There's so many rules and regulations in place. My first day on House of Dragons was probably just over 2 years ago now. So it was interesting because I actually set up the office that I ended up working in. So it's like I knew where I was going and everything. But was a bit unnerving was when I sat down and then I got bombarded with all these new programs like Synchronize, Engine, getting CC'd in emails about day out days, drive on access, new starter forms. And it was just kind of like, whoa, like what's going on? And another thing that I feel like I'm not sure if everybody else remembers this in production is the food that you have in the kitchen. So I remember it was fully stocked and it was like there was 2 fridges, every cupboard was filled to the rim of snacks and everything. And I remember bringing my own lunch in and I was like, are we allowed to take this stuff? And it was like, yeah, no, help yourself. So I remember I take 1 packet of crisps and I went to the corner. But by the end of it, it was just like clearing out the cupboards. But it's like an interesting, like it's a culture shock almost on like how it is working in production.
Yeah. Okay. And finally, Harry, yeah, and you can maybe talk about craft and what craft is as well, touching on Jarell's point.
Yeah, I think I remember my first day was arriving at Leavesden, and it was, I remember specifically that I got there and I go up the first floor in the car park and it's full. And I think it's just to show how vast it is. So eventually, I think I either went to the 4th floor, I went to the roof, and because I had to end up parking there, just I couldn't find anywhere to park. So once you've done that, you get to go down the lift, and I sort of wandered over to the stage that was on the call sheet, and you see this little, well, for me in camera, find my truck and everything, get on like this nice cold truck with all the batteries on and everything, and you put your trash rig on and your radio on and say good morning to everyone. And yeah, the first thing that I think we all prioritized really was going to craft, which on this job thankfully opened up about 15 minutes before. So craft's like where you get like your free snacks and coffee and tea throughout the day. I'd say it's what like people on set generally live off, is knowing that you've got like a nice warm ham and cheese toastie and a double espresso waiting for you after the shot when you get a little break. But yeah, going through it was routine to do all of my morning jobs and set up for the day, get the clapper boards loaded and make sure all of the cameras are jammed and everything, so they're synced up with sound. And then once you've done all of that, that's when you can go either for your first or second round at craft. And I had like my trays that the grips department made for me. So I thank grips department on every job, because you make these little tea trays for you that can carry like 15 different coffees at once. And then you walk around and see how everyone is really, and make sure everyone's got their coffee and ready to start the day.
And then we should just add to everyone, this is free, right? Craft is free. Yes, yeah, lots of nods. And Harry, can you elaborate a bit, because this wasn't your so that was your first day in camera. But did you feel more prepared because you'd already been on a different production there, or was it still quite a big shock being in a different department?
I think having done Barbie, I was pretty confident in my surroundings, in my environment, knowing like where to go and everything, because like you said, I've driven around on the buggy for like 5 months doing laps of the studio and visiting various stages. But in the actual role, it was all brand new to me. Like I've picked up a camera before and clicked on a shutter button, but arriving on the truck and then seeing about 5 different battery types and all of our different cameras and all of the different lenses and everything, it was all of the lingo and the language was very new to me. But it's the beauty is learning on the job. Like you pick up 17 different new things each day and just repeating it, and the repetition sort of, by the end of the 5 or 6 month job, like I felt very confident in all of the lingo and the language and everything. And there's always more to learn, which is really exciting.
Great. And then can somebody jump in and explain what we're talking about when we say a soundstage? Don't all speak at once. Jarell?
When you say soundstage, you mean like with the elephant doors, because we just call them stages. Personally, I call them stages.
Stages. Let's go for stages. Basically,
Stages.
not where Ria's based in her production office.
Oh, yeah. So basically, Studio Leavesden is basically set up of, I think they've got, I want to say it's definitely like 12 stages. And then they also have like a pop-up stage. And then they got like a volume stage, which is like a new tech, which is just loads of screens all around the wall. Pretty much what they used for like films and series like Mandalorian. But yeah, so it's just like these giant warehouses. You can pretty much build like castles, mountains, whatever you want in them, completely locked off when they pull them elephant doors down. You can't hear anything in or out. So yeah, that's pretty much what the film studio is based around.
Yeah, so big empty spaces that you can create these amazing sets in and then film in. And nobody's mentioned my favorite place at Leavesden, the backlot. Can somebody explain what the backlot is, please?
I can jump in if we want. The backlot is just, I describe it as just a vast space in the middle of sort of like Leavesden. And it's almost like your foundation for molding like these amazing outdoor sets. I think renownedly there was most famously within the studios, it used to be called Hagrid's Hill, which is, I believe, where back in the day where Hagrid's hut was built when they were filming the Harry Potter series. And us using it, I won't spoil it because the film's not coming out for a while, but we managed to manipulate it into something pretty cool, and being able to be out there and on the set under the sun and everything. But bearing in mind it was November, so it was extremely cold, but we had the sunrunners and we managed to create this vast set that kind of, it really brings it to life. I don't know how to explain it without ruining the plot, but
no, don't worry, don't get into spoiler territory. But basically, it's for shooting outdoors, right, and recreating these amazing kind of street scenes. And you could have a New York street on one bit, and then suddenly you're in France. Suddenly you're in, I don't know, Fantastic Beasts stuff, but all these incredible big outdoor sets. Okay, so moving on from that, can we talk through what was your biggest surprise when you started working in the industry? So something you maybe didn't expect. Who wants to jump in here?
Depends on your department. I think one of the biggest surprises is how many different departments there are in film and high-end TV. Like most people who have a film education, like in university, you normally get shoved into like director, producer, camera, writer, but then you don't realize there's like script coordinators, script supervisors, green, sparks, grips, behind the scenes, costume has multiple different departments, construction. It's like an army of people dedicated to doing one thing. So that was a surprise to me.
Great. So actually, Sam, let's come back to you, because obviously you started in COVID, but I assume that's not your kind of be all and end all in terms of career ambitions. Like, were you able to kind of use that role to see what else was out there and what you might be interested in?
Yeah, so one reason I was really keen to get onto the COVID role in the first place is it's one of the only jobs on set where you get to speak and get to know everyone. So I was going around all day, having talks with people who are, not so busy. And I'm in the future, I'm looking into the assistant directing department. So COVID gave me an opportunity to get to know all those guys, see what their job's all about, and just learn a lot more. Really, it's quite cool.
Great. And Marina, what about you? Because you started off in quite an unusual department. Can you talk a bit about what sustainability is, and whether, again, in that role, you were able to see different departments that, you became quite interested in?
Sure. Yeah. Well, I didn't even know there was such thing as a sustainability department. It's sometimes known as environmental. So sustainability isn't like always the word that they use, but not like they're starting to bring this department on now for many productions. It's like a new sort of department, which is super cool because like you can kind of change and use it how you want to. It's basically trying to keep down the footprint, the carbon footprint of the production, and maintaining it so that it doesn't grow. So starting, like for instance, we did things like compostable cups, which is like cutlery, which is really common now in most productions. What else did we do? Things about props that I can't say, but you talk to different departments and you go in and you see if there's ways of changing things that they've already planned doing. So you don't go in, you don't change them and ask them to not do it. There's ways around it, and like what different ways can we still do this, but in the most climate friendly way, which was incredibly cool because like you get to see everything. You get to go in, you get to talk to hair and makeup, look at the wigs and things like that, and then you can start kind of going back and going, okay, so what can we do to keep how amazing this is, but just in a kind of like friendly way. So of course I got to meet loads and loads of different people, all the departments, and I also got to understand how every department does their job and what they do, which I think is really, really helpful, because without knowing what a grip does, or like how props make their props and where they start off to begin with, it's not as helpful. So yeah, it was incredible. I got to go on set. I was also in the office. I was also office based, and I also kind of got to do a bit of like I was like a bit of a fly on the wall sometimes when it came to like decisions and planning and things like that. So yeah, no, super cool. But yeah.
Okay, so can we open it up a bit, and can you maybe share with our audience what's the best bit of advice you've been given so far since you've entered the wonderful world of film and high-end TV production? Any really good words of wisdom that you can share?
I think I might say, like, just because you haven't been in this industry before doesn't mean you don't know what to do. Like most of it you learn on the job and you learn from other people. It's not something that you can just like know all about. So when you're coming in, it's definitely okay to not know what you're doing.
Yeah, and I think that's something that comes up quite regularly of even the people at the top with decades and decades of experience, they're still learning every day and making mistakes, and that's fine because everyone's human, but own your mistakes. Don't try and cover them up, like admit to them pretty quickly, and then hopefully everyone can help you find a solution. I think my biggest one, I would say, is just remember that kind of time is money on a film or high-end TV production, and if somebody is asking you to do something, there is probably an expectation that they want you to do it right away, and if you're not sure, then check. But it's not oh, I'll get around to doing that in a couple of hours after I've had my lunch break and spoken to some people. If you've been asked to do something, you probably get on and do it. Any others guys want to share?
I think
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was always told a lot, you can only do so much. Working in COVID, you get told no a lot. You get some grumpy people from time to time, but you can only do so much in your role, and sometimes things are out of your hands, so do what you can, really.
Yeah, sphere of influence, right? Jarrell?
Yeah.
I think the best piece of advice I always had, but excuse my language, but it's like, don't be a dick. Honestly, like leave your ego at the door when you come to this industry. Don't feel like it's all about you. You're a part of a team, work as a team. Like, this industry is really small, so you don't know when the manager that might have been annoying you might end up being in the next job, or for example, the COVID PA might end up being your boss on the next job. It's just crazy how it works. But yeah, and also be early to be on time. Like Sam said, like set alarm 6 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 7 o'clock. If you have to get in for 10, it doesn't make a difference.
Yeah, actually, that's a really interesting point. How many of you, because I think at least half have done multiple productions now, have you run into crew that you worked with on previous jobs? Yeah, nods.
I
So
mean-
yeah, wise words there. Just remember, you're going to bump into people again and again. And so trying to get a really positive reputation as sort of enthusiastic, good attitude. You're not sat there looking at your phone all the time or asking to go home kind of early. Like, you're really mucking in with the rest of your team. That will go a long way. And it's very, very easy if somebody is looking for a new trainee to hire, and they see that they've worked on Wonka, for example, to call Marina's old boss and say, what was Marina like? Because that tends to be how this industry works. So it can feel vast, but it's actually a lot smaller than you think. So just try and protect your reputation. Anything from you, Nathaniel?
Yeah, I think I was gonna say, kind of going off of everyone's stuff, I think it's, don't underestimate the power of questions. I think sometimes you think, you don't want to ask too much to your superiors, or especially the person who's at the top of your department, but asking them specific questions, it really sticks with them. And I think it can kind of help them to remember you if you're sort of asking them things that makes them think about their job. I mean, when I was on set helping with the grips, a lot of the times I'd speak to the chief grip, John Fleming, and just ask him a lot of questions about what he's done. And he was so happy to talk about it. He just loved speaking about what he's done. And I think just don't feel like, oh, just because they're at the top of your department, you can't ask them anything or speak to them. They're there to kind of take on your questions and teach you, because they know that's what you're there for, to essentially learn off those people. So yeah, I think don't underestimate, having a good question ready, or if seeing that they're not busy, to sort of use that to ask them something.
Yeah, definitely be curious. And it's a point we've been trying to make in some of our in-person sessions, that remember, like, the people kind of doing those jobs, they're there because they're really passionate about it. These aren't easy jobs by any stretch of the imagination. And most people quite like talking about their passion. But also, like, there are lots of opportunities available, but you can give the same opportunity to two different people, and they'll take it in very, very different ways. And you want to really, really maximize that opportunity. So like Sam said, going on as a COVID marshal and then getting to see and speak to all of these different departments. A lot of you guys have started in one area that maybe wasn't your first choice, and you've been able to move somewhere or figure out like where you really, really want to be. So every kind of experience is what you make of it. Any other advice? Ria, any words of wisdom from you, or stuff you wish someone had told you before you'd begun?
I don't think so. I think I agree with what everyone else has said. I mean, I wish I'd have told myself that I didn't know anything and that was fine. And yeah, it's okay to ask questions. And I think it's always good to have people that ground you too. Like, we were quite lucky because we were part of an apprenticeship like group, and we could like talk about the little things that no one was talking about in the office, and it'd be like, oh, okay, it's okay. So I think it's important to have those people that ground you too. But
yeah, that's a really good point. The importance of creating like peer networks. So again, try not to think of your peers as like direct competition. I think they can be an amazing source of job opportunities, because if people are busy and they're asked to recommend somebody, but also, as Ria said, like a really, really valuable source of support. And this industry can be tough. And I think it's hard for people who are outside it to fully understand what's going on. So trying to build up your network, which you guys have made a fantastic start on, because you're here today watching this. I know there's networking and things going on in the chat, and build your peers. They're just people with shared passions. Really, really use them. Any other words of wisdom?
Yeah, one more going off that. I think once you get onto your sort of first time on set, especially a big set like that, kind of get to know the trainees. They're really useful and they're really good people to have. I mean, they're in your position. And I think even I was working with Harry on Mickey 17, and I think getting to know those trainees, it makes it so much nicer, because, you know, sometimes you will do things that align and you sort of get to know each other and you can speak about your experiences. Yeah, I think that's crucial. I think to make sure, don't sort of be that one trainee who's just distant. You know, try and get to know them because they're literally in your position. So they're really good people to kind of have to talk to a lot of times. Yeah.
Sorry, off the back of what Nate just said, is either make a WhatsApp group with all the assistants and trainees, or get on the WhatsApp group because there's probably one already floating around, because the information that goes around on that WhatsApp group is going to be crucial to helping you in your job. It always helps.
Yeah,
the
it's
ADs are always the best. Yeah, lifesaver, the grips, the ADs, everybody on set will be telling you what's happening before your UPM even knows.
Brilliant. We're getting all the secrets now. So before we move on to some audience questions, can we just quickly go around and hear what are the best and worst things about production? And you can be very honest. Who wants to go first?
I think for me, I'll start off with the bad. I think it's good to sort of cover that. I think the hours, so once you start, right, it seems quite nice, you know, they're 10-hour days and they stick to that. But I think what you got to understand is with most films, and hearing from other people as well, once you hit that halfway point and near the end, expect those hours to go up. There'll be a little bit more overtime. It'll turn into 12-hour days possibly. Sometimes you're doing 6-day weeks, so it's not Monday to Friday, it's Monday to Saturday, then you're resting Sunday and back Monday. I think you're doing it with all those other people and you're sort of getting through it together, but it's still something to address. And I think that's one thing I wish I sort of prepared for, because I thought we'd stick to Monday, Fridays. And once they started saying Saturdays, I was like, hold on, you know, but it's just sort of, it's how it is. And I think it's good to expect that as you get to that halfway point, like I said, it's sort of, it can start to change and get a little bit more stressful. And, you know, everyone's taking on a little bit more of a responsibility. But like I said, you're doing it together, so it's not something to be scared about, but I think it's good to know about it beforehand.
And Nathaniel, just on that, what was your kind of average call time? What time did you actually have to be there for?
I think I was lucky. I think most of the time it was 8, but I think then it was a few days where you get sort of 7:30 or 7. But and one thing actually about that is, with grips, I don't know how it is with every other department, but sometimes you get a pre-rig, which is sort of setting up something big that you're going to use on that day. And what I would do is, sometimes you're not involved in that because obviously you're the trainee, so you don't have to go. But sometimes I'll go anyway to watch what they're doing because they do really cool rigs. And there's sort of these things where they're preparing for a stunt where someone's going to jump off something or there's a fight scene, and they get to rig that and prepare it. So sometimes, even if you're not called beforehand, if you know they're going to do something that you want to look at and learn how it's made, don't be afraid to ask, oh, can I come early? Or can I come and watch you guys do that? And that's something I tried to do a few times throughout my time on that job.
Great. Okay, so we've had long hours.
Yeah.
Can anyone give a bit more information on, I imagine they're sometimes like quite antisocial hours. Has anyone had to work night shoots?
Yep.
Yeah.
Can you talk us through that a bit, Sam or Harry?
The thing I wasn't very happy about the night shoot was it was the uncertainty. I didn't, because I was quite disattached from everything else. I had no idea when I was gonna finish. I just knew that we were in the night and we were gonna keep on trucking. But you kind of just had to, you know, try motivate yourself in those moments. And usually when you get to the end, it's all worth it because turnover money.
And Harry, any other? So when we say night shoot, what do we kind of mean? Like, again, what would your call time maybe be for a night shoot?
Yeah, so I think the night shoots that I've done in the past would be on location. Call time would be 3 p.m. on location, but I'd have a pre-call of about an hour. And then to make sure that I feel prepared and I know my surroundings, I'd arrive an extra half an hour. So personally, I'd be arriving, like I've had a night shoot in London where I'd be turning up at 1:30 p.m, spending half an hour to sort of get my locations and get all my gear on and everything. And then we'd have our pre-call and our pre-rig at 2 o'clock, set everything up, and we'd be shooting from 3 p.m. until, I think this one we finished at about 4:30 a.m. the next morning. So it's about a 12.5 hour shoot. And then you've still got about, I had a 2-hour journey home. So I think I probably left my house at about 12 p.m. the previous day, and my head didn't hit the pillow until about 6 a.m. the next morning.
And just reassure everybody, you weren't having to work that.
No. So some of it's travel. It was working would have been from about 3 p.m. the previous day until 4:30 a.m. the next day. So it's your normal-ish hours that you do at a studio. We were just on location, so you've got limited time, and what needs to be shot has to be shot. So,
but then you'd have a set period, a number of hours.
And like Sam was saying, you get turnover. So we got a full day's pay for basically just staying at home and resting, because working a night shoot, you don't get any sleep, and it hinders your ability to do a second job if you were to have a second job the next day. So thankfully, like, unions and production come up with turnover money, so you get paid for an extra day off that doesn't come out of sick leave or holiday pay or anything, which is very nice.
Great, thank you. Marina, best or worst thing?
I was thinking about it. I think the worst thing is it can be a bit expensive, like driving to and from studios, like a tank of petrol at the moment is a lot. So I think it can be quite expensive. Obviously, you're getting the money back every week, and you get some mileage for journeys you're doing, but it can be expensive, which isn't always the easiest for everybody. But I think the best thing though is kind of knowing that, like, I'm doing a job that I really enjoy. Like, I couldn't imagine doing like a 9 to 5 in London. Like, that just wouldn't work for me. I get really bored. So I think knowing that when I go in every day and knowing that I enjoy what I do and I'm really good at what I do. Well, I think I am. God knows, but
be confident. You are. You're still working, Marina.
But I think just loving what I do kind of makes it easier.
Great. Jarrell?
Starting off with the worst thing, off the back of everybody else's comment, I would say the long hours kind of contribute to a poor work life and home life balance. Like, even if you're just doing normal hours and your call time's 8 and you have to get in half an hour pre-call, and you got to factor in an hour travel or 45 minutes travel, you're waking up at like 5, 6 every day, coming home about 7, 8, you've just missed everything. So if you have gym, if you have like maybe after work activities, none of that stuff happens. The best thing though, I would say, you get to go to some amazing places and you get to see some amazing stuff. Most recently on a night shoot, I remember we locked off Trafalgar Square, and it was just like having the whole of Trafalgar Square just inside there as like your own little playground. Is just, I remember going to Trafalgar Square as like a 15-year-old hanging around as a kid, and I'm sitting on the same bench watching a film being made. It's like, it's a bit surreal. You go beaches, you go away. There's so many opportunities to go to amazing places and see stuff that you wouldn't normally see in any other job.
Great. Ria, what about you?
I think I agree with everyone else, and I think what I love most about it is kind of the job is so like not predictable, so you are experiencing so many different things that you wouldn't in a regular job, and just like getting to create a piece of art with so many talented people, I think it's just a real privilege.
Great. And Sam, anything from you? Best or worst thing?
The worst thing is the feeling that you get towards the end of every day, and you're not sure if you have overtime or not. And in the next 10 minutes, you're either really happy or just a little bit, it's the feeling you get before that. But the best thing is craft, right? Hands down. Just whenever you want a coffee, whenever you want like a little pork pie, just pop down craft, have a good time.
Brilliant. Yeah, food, just making everyone happy. Great, thank you. I mean, I think I would say, hopefully you can tell from everybody's answers. I always think of careers in kind of film and TV production as it's a lifestyle choice. And it's really important that you factor that in and you kind of understand, and we're very honest about the good and the bad. And to me, it's similar to something like aviation. The good points are very obvious, lots of travel, going to nice, exciting places, but the bad side, jet lag all the time, and you're away from your friends and family a lot of the time. And again, it's similar with this of, you know, the working hours, and it's quite all or nothing, I think, when you're on a production. Guys, can you just very quickly kind of shout out, how long has your most recent job been? Like, give people an idea of how long you might be attached to a project for.
I think Mickey 17 was about 6 months all in with prep, shoot and wrap.
Yeah, that's it.
6 months. Ria, Marina, have you done anything longer than 6 months?
Yeah, I think about 9 months. I've been on Mickey 17, I think. Yeah.
And Jarrell, what about you with high-end TV? Longer, I imagine?
I actually had to pull up these dates before this as well. On House of the Dragons, I joined November 2020 and I finished February 2022. So it was like 1 year and 7 months, 1 year and 6 months or so.
Okay, and do you are you able to take off holiday in that time?
Oh, you get your hiatus. So basically in film and TV, it's pretty much, unless you kind of you take a holiday in hiatuses. So you get them in Christmas. So I had it like as soon as I went into November, I had the Christmas hiatus and then another Christmas hiatus. And then if you do need to take some time off, you can take some time off. But most people don't, because they pay back your holiday pay at the end. And it's kind of like forced savings, basically.
Okay, yeah. Right, so we have lots of audience questions. First one, advice on how you stand out on your first day for all the right reasons. Who wants to have a go at this?
I'll go then. Yeah, to stand out, I think it's just about being very respectable, but also very kind of attentive, like paying attention really. And when you get there on that first day, you know, you have a list of things to do, you have tasks, but I think during your first day to sort of watch every little thing and pay close attention, because even if you think you're just, you know, by yourself, there's always people seeing and they'll pick up on those things. So I think just making sure you're always watching those takes and those scenes. And it's exciting anyway, you know, it won't feel like a chore, but just making sure, you know, during that first sort of that starting period, try and just pay really close attention to things and, you know, watch it as much as you can. And if you're not working, take that time out to watch and see what your department's doing and other departments are doing. And I think that makes you look really good, just about a passion, really. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to say a really basic one, be early. So if it's your first day, again, a first day is not the time to just figure out how to get to where you need to be. So maybe think about rehearsing your journey beforehand so that you just don't have that stress on your first day. You know exactly where you're going. You're going to be there early. The worst thing you want to be is kind of stressed, panicked, and arriving late. And I would say attitude is everything. So be pleased to be there. Like, these new entrant roles are really quite hard to find. So if you manage to get one, like, really make the most of it. Be pleased to be there. Be curious and enjoy it. That's what all these guys have done. And that's why they have had more than one job. You know, they've worked on multiple productions. So one for Harry here. You said you've been having to learn lingo. Can you give us some examples? And guys, you can throw in different bits because I know it's going to vary a bit from department to department. A few words for our audience to kind of take on board that you didn't know beforehand.
I think going straight in is you've got, like, for me, being a trainee, one of my main roles was to sort of supervise and look after batteries and make sure everything's powered. And straight away I had loads of different batteries. You've got blocks, onboards, 24 volts, 12 volts. And that's just being like, you need to be able to respond quickly. So someone would be like, can I have a block? And your block would be your main 24 volt, really big blue ARRI blocks that charges one of your cameras for cross fingers 2 hours. But again, that's when you've got to use your initiative, and I've always got to check and make sure, because you never want the battery to die. But I think things like LCS cables as well. Someone's like, can you get me an LCS cable? There's about, I think there's at least 20 different types of cables, from 2 pins, 4 pins, DCAs. I can throw loads out there, but it's just,
so a lot of specific camera language.
Yeah.
Ria or Jarrell, maybe, have you got any more broad kind of terms that people might not be familiar with that aren't so camera specific?
I'm not gonna lie, I'm still caught up on what Harry was saying, because I didn't know any of that stuff. Honestly, I think when I came in, things like sides, I know we all know about scripts, but sides is literally just the lines and the scenes that we'll be reading on the day. You got dudes, which is day out of days when that we actually have the cast in. You've got schedules, so you got one-liner schedules, which is like a broken down to one line of each day. Then you got full fat, which just has everything in it, like down to the scene, the numbers, everything. What else is there? Cans. When you're on set, you might ask for cans, and normally I was silly. I walked up to someone, was like, "Can I get some headphones, please?" And it was like, "What, you mean some cans?" "Yeah, can I get some cans?" What else is there? Yeah, I think that's about it, really, of like the generic ones that you hear thrown around.
Okay, great. And Jarrell, this is another one probably for you. If you went to university beforehand, would you say it was helpful for preparing you for being on a film or high-end TV set?
No. Sorry, I'm just going to come out there controversial. It depends on what university you go to. And I loved going to uni. I went to uni as a mature student. It was a great experience for me. It gave me some space to learn outside of working and family life and whatnot. But unless you go to a film specific like university, I don't think general courses will help you in the industry. Because when you get into film and TV, it's not about analyzing film, because most people in film and TV don't even watch film. They're working, they're industry professionals. It's a whole different culture. They won't teach you how to work within a team with that many different departments. So, but what it is good for is networking with people that might get into the industry and might help you get a job. So it's kind of, do you feel that good paying, let's say, I think it's like $9,000 now, was it more? So $9,000 a year to kind of network, or come onto things like BFI festivals and network via this, or network at events that these type of people, industry professionals, will be at. So you can actually get the same kind of end result with a lot less.
Yeah, I think it's a really personal decision of whether you go to university or not. And it's the same as anything, of if you do decide to go, make sure you kind of really make the most of that opportunity in terms of extracurriculars and networking, as Jarrell said. But I think hopefully from listening to everyone, you're getting a strong sense that there is just nothing quite like walking on to your first production, particularly if it's a studio project. The scale, it's quite hard to prepare for, and I think universities would have a hard job trying to do that accurately, because you're just learning so much from day one onwards. Okay, this is a really interesting one. Do you encourage contact with actors? Any tips for actors to network with you? And were you starstruck during the first few days? Can people give a little bit of insight into cast? Because I'm imagining what the answer is here, but I'd like to hear it from you guys.
I'd say the first sort of like stars that I met, I was starstruck for like the first like week or so, but I think once you get into the daily routine, they're always like, they are just people as well. Like, they are the people that I've worked with and the actors I've worked with have just been so nice that they'll like, we're walking to set and they'll like, you're bringing in a block or something, and they say hello to you and things like that. And I think you just get into the routine of them just being part of the team, because at the end of the day, they're just they're another artist and they're another person with passion who's here to create a bit of art, really. That's my experience. And
yeah, I mean, I suppose my advice would be like, it would be for them to take the lead in terms of any interaction. You do not go running after cast and thinking you're going to be best friends with them. You're professionals, you're all there to do a job, and kind of focus on that. And some are maybe nicer and more friendly with others, and you follow their lead.
Sorry, off of that, I just want to
Yeah.
say, learn to read the room.
Right.
Like, because you might bump into a cast member like in between a take, and it might be a very like hard moment for them trying to get into character. Don't be like, "You're right, mate. How are you? How are you finding things?" It's like, just fall back. Let him do, or she do what she needs to do.
Yeah. Okay, a couple of quick ones. Who do you turn to if you have any questions?
Probably your HOD.
And
Yeah.
what is your HOD? Can you
Head
just...
of department, sorry, yeah. I think they're always there to help, you know, or other people around you, like anyone really. You could ask anybody and they'd be kind of down to help you.
So kind of linked to that, an interesting one. Is there anyone you should avoid talking to on your first day? And the example being given here is, should you stay away from the director until you're introduced?
It's a tough one, I think, but I think going back to Jarrell, it's read the room, because again, some of them can be really, really open to you. I think Bong Joon-ho was fantastic at like being like going around and talking to all of us and things like that. So I think again, it's just reading the room. But yeah, I'd say put it down to read the room, because you never want to rule anything out, because again, it's all about like they're your second family really, and it's all about making that connections and sort of networking. So
any other additions to read the room? I mean, again, I would just say it's letting others lead on that and go in with zero expectations. And if people are great and really, really open, then that's wonderful. But again, respect that these are highly pressurized environments. You're talking about features with big budgets, a lot of pressure on people to deliver. And much as probably everyone would like to be helpful, like the first job is to get the thing made, to get it delivered. So I guess just respect that it can maybe seem informal at times, but it's a professional work environment, and everyone's there to do a job. Final one to finish up with. Were you invited to any social things offset after you started working? And can you talk a bit about navigating that?
I'll sort for a little bit. I joined the crew a lot later than everyone else. I'd say a couple months probably. So by the time I arrived on set, a lot of things were already, happening and going about. And it just became, when I formed relationships, people on set, eventually, you get invited to do some stuff outside of set, and it's a really good environment, because it is feel like your family, and you go around, it's just really nice. Okay.
I'd piggyback and say on that if you do get opportunities like us, we had a power league team going. So every Tuesday, generally, if we weren't doing overtime, we'd go down to the Watford Power League and we'd just bash out a couple of games of football, which I think was really, really nice, because it meant that because being in this industry, you do sacrifice your social life, a lot of it being the hours that you do, but being able to have that and look forward to on a Tuesday that we're not colleagues at that point in time. We're just a bunch of mates just sort of down playing a local bit of football, and it's very nice to sort of just chill out and relax. So we had our first AD come down and play football with us, which was really, really fun.
Any other examples? You not mentioned the biggest one, which I imagine is wrap parties. Can somebody talk a little bit about wrap parties?
Yeah, that's one thing I was gonna piggyback off. I think you have the football, you have also you might get invited for a few drinks after some nights, and then obviously the wrap party. Um, I think yeah, it's quite a nice environment. I think that especially the wrap party is sort of just somewhere where everyone's sort of you finish, so it's everyone's a lot more calm and everyone's a lot more chill. Um, yeah, that's kind of all there is to say about it. Really, it's just sort of a time to really. I'd say if you've been trying to speak to anyone, the best time would probably be on that wrap party. Everyone's sort of a lot more relaxed, so most people you see there, they're way more approachable than beforehand. So I think yeah, that's one thing. If there's anyone you want to speak to, even let's say the director, that wrap party might be the time to sort of get in a sort of slightly longer conversation. Yeah.
Also, going back to what I said earlier, please remember at wrap parties these people you may work with again. Because
Yeah.
I've seen people do some stuff at wrap parties. It's like, oof, yeah, just remember.
Yeah, don't yeah, don't do too much.
Yeah,
And
you
also
built up your reputation for the whole of the shoot, and then
Yeah.
but also one thing I wanted to add on, which is something that I was told by sort of my people in my department above me, because there'll be times, especially on location. So there was a few weeks we had sort of in Cardington, which is up north, and we just had a few things there. And sort of you'll get invited to go out a lot more in the evenings, sometimes after work, to go for a few drinks or go to the pub. And I'd say don't be afraid to don't feel forced all the time. I think especially if you're a trainee, if you're tired and everyone's going out every night and you're not sort of trying to be on that, you want to get back and rest. Don't be afraid to kind of say no sometimes, or just, you ain't always got to stay there till the latest hour of everyone else. You'd always have to be, if you just want to go for a few drinks and not more, stuff like that. I think it's important to put yourself first and your well-being, and not, if you're tired or exhausted that week, don't feel like, oh, they're all going, so I have to go out with them. That's very important. I think that helped me a lot, and having the confidence to know when I'm too tired after a day of work. I've done a lot of stuff, so I don't want to go out that night. Don't be like against it all the time, but don't feel like you're forced to every single time. That's really important.
great, good advice. You do you.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we have just about run out of time, but thank you so much, Harry, Nathaniel, Marina, Jarell, Ria, Sam. It's been so lovely to connect with you again, and seeing how you've all flourished. And best of luck for your kind of current or next jobs, but thank you so much for joining us. And I hope you guys at home have found this useful. Do check out, there's a lot of resources that I imagine Ria's put in the chat, but if you want kind of more information like this, there's some brilliant podcast content. Check out BAFTA Guru, Best Girl Grip by Nicole Davis, Team Deakins, which is Roger Deakins and his wife, interviewing lots of different people that they've worked with. There's a lot of information out there now, so if you're interested in different roles, things these guys have spoken about, go and find it. But thank you so much for being part of the final WB100 Career Ladder session. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday.